My name is Evelyn Hart, and for 36 years I believed airports were the one place where preparation protected you from humiliation. I knew exactly how early to arrive, which security line moved fastest, and how to hold my passport so TSA agents barely looked twice before waving me through. I was organized, predictable, invisible in the safest possible way. That was why the moment my younger sister Vanessa leaned toward a TSA officer and whispered something while carefully avoiding my eyes, I felt danger before anyone even touched my passport. The officer's expression changed immediately. It was subtle, a tightening around the mouth, a glance toward another agent, the kind of look trained people think nobody notices. Then two additional officers appeared beside him almost casually. "Ma'am," one of them said politely, "we need to hold your documents for a moment." The terminal noise suddenly felt far away. My passport disappeared into gloved hands while strangers openly stared. A businessman lowered his phone. A little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve. Somewhere behind me, Vanessa adjusted her carry-on with exaggerated focus, pretending not to watch the disaster she had created. That told me everything. Innocent people rush toward you when security stops you. Innocent people ask questions. They don't suddenly become fascinated with a suitcase zipper. Then the supervisor arrived. His name tag read Harlan. He was in his late 50s, broad shoulders, silver at his temples, reading glasses hanging from one hand though he barely needed them. He studied my passport carefully, then looked at my face, then back again. "Hart," he murmured quietly. "Evelyn Hart. That's my name," I replied evenly. "It has been my name my entire life." He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped aside and made a phone call in a voice too low for me to fully hear. I caught fragments. "Case file, 2019. Protection notice." Then silence while he listened carefully. Behind me, Vanessa finally drifted closer, arms crossed tightly. She exhaled softly, the exact satisfied breath she'd been making since childhood every time something went her way. "I'm only trying to keep people safe," she said quietly, like she was performing for invisible cameras. I ignored her because Supervisor Harlan had returned, and his expression had completely changed. He placed my passport gently on the counter. "Miss Hart," he said calmly, "I apologize for the delay. You are cleared to proceed." Vanessa froze. Actually froze. Her carry-on slipped from her hand and hit the floor. "That's impossible," she snapped immediately. "I told you the documents were fake." "Ma'am," Harlan interrupted smoothly. "The documents are valid and have been verified. If you have another concern, there are legal procedures available. Today is not one of them." I picked up my passport slowly. My hands were steady because I had spent years learning how to survive Vanessa. Years of her quietly poisoning conversations, twisting family stories, and smiling sympathetically while dismantling things I cared about. But before walking away, I looked at Harlan. "What was the phone call about?" He hesitated for a moment before answering. "Your father," he said quietly, "filed a legal protection notice in 2019. He specifically warned that a close family member might someday attempt to falsely report you. During travel verification, the air left my lungs completely. My father had been dead for 6 years, which meant he had written that protection notice before cancer took him. He had known, not suspected, known." I sat at my gate afterwards staring at my phone for nearly 20 minutes before opening the only voicemail from my father I had never deleted. His voice filled my headphones softly, weaker than I remembered. "Evelyn, there are things I should have said louder. I said them on paper instead. Forgive me for choosing paper. For years I thought he meant his will. I finally understood he meant protection. Harlan had slipped me a business card before I left security. Charlotte Mercer, estate and civil litigation attorney. I called her immediately from the terminal. She answered on the second ring. "Miss Hart," she said calmly, "I've already been notified about the TSA incident. Your father prepared for this possibility years ago." Behind me, I could hear Vanessa arguing with an airline employee nearby, her voice growing sharper with every sentence. She still had no idea she had triggered something far larger than airport embarrassment. Charlotte Mercer explained everything in less than 10 minutes. During the final year of his life, my father had quietly documented 12 years of financial manipulation connected to Vanessa. Missing funds from shared accounts, suspicious withdrawals after my mother's funeral, loans never repaid, and most importantly, forged signatures connected to a property transfer involving a lake house my father had secretly left to me. I never even knew the property existed. Dad hadn't told me because he knew I would confront Vanessa immediately, and confrontation would have given her time to erase evidence. So instead, he built the evidence quietly and waited. The TSA incident had activated the sealed file automatically because false federal accusations crossed a legal threshold he specifically outlined. By the time my flight landed in Chicago later that afternoon, Charlotte already had documents spread across her office table waiting for me. The forged signature report sat on top. A forensic examiner had confirmed years earlier that Vanessa falsified my name. During the property transfer, Dad had paid for the investigation privately while chemotherapy was slowly destroying him. That realization nearly broke me. "He was protecting you until the end," Charlotte said gently. "He always protected me," I whispered. "I just never understood how." Vanessa began calling before sunset, then texting, then emailing. Words like misunderstanding and family and "we can resolve this privately" appeared over and over again. The language of someone who finally realizes the walls are closing. I ignored every message and signed the first legal filing instead. 3 days later, Vanessa's attorney withdrew from representing her. That alone told the entire story. Lawyers do not abandon innocent clients the moment evidence appears unless they understand exactly how dangerous the truth has become. Then the family phone calls started. My cousin Rachel called first. "She's crying," Rachel said carefully. "She says you're destroying her over money." "It is about money," I replied calmly. "Specifically mine." There was a long silence. Then Rachel spoke again, quieter this time. "She borrowed $4,000 from me last year. Said your father's estate was frozen and she needed help covering hospital bills." My father's estate had never been frozen. Not for a single day. That was the moment the family narrative began cracking apart. One by one, relatives started comparing stories. Different excuses, different emergencies, different lies. Vanessa hadn't just manipulated me. She had been running the same performance on everyone for years. 42 days after the airport incident, the lake house officially returned to my name. I drove there alone. The road curved through pine trees exactly the way I remembered from childhood vacations. Then the water appeared between the branches, calm, silver blue, untouched by everything humans had done around it. Dad bought the house the year I was born. He taught me to fish from the dock there even though neither of us were any good at it. Vanessa hated the place because it was too quiet. That was exactly why he left it to me. She never wanted the house itself. She wanted proof that he had chosen me, and she wanted to take it away. The district attorney accepted the fraud case the same morning I arrived at the lake. Restitution, probation, criminal charges tied permanently to her name. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I sat alone at the edge of the dock until sunset, feeling something quieter than revenge. Relief. The kind that settles slowly into your bones after years of carrying tension you no longer have to survive. For most of my life, I thought love meant tolerating damage because the people hurting you shared your blood. My father understood something I didn't learn until much later. Protection is love too. Sometimes the deepest act of love is not loud affection or dramatic sacrifice. Sometimes it is paperwork filed quietly, evidence preserved carefully, a door locked before someone dangerous reaches it. Dad knew I would eventually find my way back to that lake house. He just made sure nobody could steal it before I arrived.